Hikigaya, our lone and cynical protagonist, submits an offensive yet elaborate essay on youth to his teacher, Shizuka Hiratsuka. The contents of the essay make Shizuka extremely angry, and Hikigaya's clarification further triggers Shizuka, causing her to almost hit Hikigaya, which frightens him. After that, as a punishment, Shizuka takes Hikigaya to Sobi School's service club, where the school's beauty, Yukino Kinoshita, is sitting alone, making Hikigaya stare at her in awe. The sudden intrusion of privacy makes Yukino annoyed as she asks Shizuka the reason for her visit, while pointing out Hikigaya's weird face. This makes Hikigaya remember that Yukino is from the elite class, which always scores above 90%, while Shizuka suggests that she is here to request Yukino's assistance, as Hikigaya wants to join the club to rectify his problem with social skills. The look on Hikigaya's face makes Yukino uncomfortable, but Yukino accepts the task when Shizuka explains it in the most odd way, which turns out to be hilarious and leaves the two of them alone. The sudden silence triggers Hikigaya's memories of the painful past, so he decides to intimidate Yukino, but he loses his ground when she asks him to sit down. After that, Yukino informs Hikigaya of the name of their club, while she also explains its purpose, and both of them get into a heated argument where Yukino thinks that she is rectifying Hikigaya's problem. Hikigaya suggests that he doesn't want to change himself for others to like him, which Yukino finds berating, but Shizuka intervenes by suggesting a competition among them, with the winner having the ability to boss the other one around, which both of them accept. The next day, Hikigaya returns to the club room and discovers that Yukino, like himself, is a loner without any friends. He begins to see similarities between them. Filled with a newfound understanding, he musters the courage to ask Yukino to be his friend. However, before he can even finish his question, Yukino rejects his offer. Talk about being cruel. Shortly after, Yu Hama enters the club room with a special request. She wants their help in baking cookies for someone important to her. Despite Yukino's initial attempts to guide Yu, her baking skills fall short. Yu becomes disheartened and considers giving up, but Hikigaya steps in and employs a clever tactic of reverse psychology to fulfill Yu's request. He explains that it's the thought and gesture behind the cookies that matter most rather than their perfection, making Yu realize that people appreciate the mere act of being remembered. The following week, Yu surprises the duo by arriving at the club room with freshly baked cookies as a token of gratitude for their assistance. Yu also decides to contribute to the club's activities and offers to have lunch together with Yukino, while Hikigaya enjoys the disastrous cookies. During a class, Hikigaya ponders the advantages and disadvantages of forming social groups, drawing a comparison to the animal kingdom while he also observes his classmates. He finds solace in the idea of being a solitary bear, which he illustrates in his assignment. However, his contemplation is interrupted when Shizuka criticizes him for his doodling, while Hikigaya jokes about Shizuka's age, causing him to receive a well-deserved punch from her. Without further ado, Shizuka asks about the progress of the service club, while revealing that she deliberately isolated Hikigaya and Yukino from others due to their unconventional perspectives on society, and also explains Yukino's behavior as society is only looking to berate others. After that, during lunch break, as it's pouring outside, Hikigaya reluctantly sits in his classroom while he observes Yu's repeated failed attempts to break away from her social group, led by the popular Yumiko Miura, as Yu wants to have lunch with Yukino instead. Yu struggles to find an explanation to leave Yumiko's group, which makes Hikigaya step up but quickly retrieve as Yumiko's snake-like fangs frighten him. Yukino suddenly arrives and questions Yu's tardiness. However, she quickly understands the situation when Yumiko confronts her aggressively. A tense confrontation unfolds between Yukino and Yumiko until Hayato intervenes. Sensing the tension, the other students exit the classroom, leaving Yu and Yumiko alone to address their differences. Meanwhile, outside the classroom, Yukino and Hikigaya eavesdrop on Yu as she candidly expresses her true feelings about how she desires to be treated. After school, Yoshiteru Zamakuza, known for his delusional tendencies, visits the club with a request for assistance in reviewing a light novel he wrote, and the service club agrees to help him with his request. That evening, as Hikigaya walks home, he experiences a flashback involving a dog and a car while crossing the street, but his thoughts are interrupted by Zamakuza. At night, as Hikigaya and Yukino read a torturing novel of Zamakuza, Yu sleeps soundly. The following day, Yukino proceeds to provide her critique of Zamakuza's work without holding back. Even though Yukino's feedback is harsh, leaving Zamakuza feeling somewhat dejected. However, he also appreciates the fact that he received honest opinions from the club members regarding something he wrote. Despite feeling put down, Zamakuza expresses his gratitude and promises to seek their reviews for his future works. During gym class, Hikigaya finds himself practicing tennis against a wall as he doesn't have a partner. During lunchtime, he enjoys eating alone at his favorite spot, relishing the pleasant sea breezes that come from the nearby shore. However, his solitude is interrupted by the arrival of Yu. While engaged in conversation, they are further interrupted by the appearance of Seika Tatsuka, whose looks cause Hikigaya to mistake him for a girl. The following day, Hikigaya is paired up with Seika in gym class, who invites him to join the tennis club. Uncertain about what to do, Hikigaya seeks advice from Yukino while Yu arrives with Seika, who asks for the service club's assistance in practicing tennis. In the subsequent days, the group finds themselves subjected to Yukino's rigorous tennis drills as they help Seika improve his skills. During one of their practice sessions, Yumiko and her group unexpectedly arrive and demand the use of the tennis court. Hayato and Yumiko propose a wager to Hikigaya and Yu, where the winner of a doubles tennis match would earn the right to use the court and assist Seika in his practice. As the match progresses, Yumiko and Hayato begin to gain the upper hand. However, the tides turn when Yui, unfortunately, sprains her ankle during the game. Determined not to give up, Yu convinces Yukino to step in as her replacement. With renewed energy, Yukino takes control of the match and steadily dominates her opponents. However, as her stamina starts to wane, Yukino decides to entrust the game to Hikigaya. Using his astute observation of the sea breeze's speed and direction, Hikigaya devises a strategy to exploit its effect on the game. With a well-executed magic pop fly, Hikigaya secures the winning point and emerges victorious in the match. Despite their victory in the tennis match, the service club's achievement goes unnoticed as Hayato steps in to protect Yumiko from injuring herself after Hikigaya's final serve. As the match concludes, Yukino leaves with Yui and Seika expresses gratitude towards Hikigaya. Hikigaya, however, comments that the god of romantic comedies must be foolish for creating pairings that seem to have homosexual undertones. Upon returning to the club room, Hikigaya accidentally walks in on Yu and Yukino while they are changing. In an unfortunate turn of events, he is accidentally struck by a tennis racket, rendering him momentarily unconscious. Nevertheless, before losing consciousness, Hikigaya playfully compliments the god on his sense of humor. On their way to school, Hikigaya and his sister, Komachi Hikigaya, have a conversation about the car accident that Hikigaya was involved in on what was supposed to be his first day of high school, and Komachi informs that the person involved is from Hikigaya's school, which piques his interest. Upon arriving at school, Hikigaya finds himself being lectured by Shizuka for his workplace visit survey, where he attempted to justify the idea of becoming a house husband. After school at the service club, Yu receives a mysterious chain text that accuses her class students Tove and others of being delinquents. Intrigued by the message, Yu shares it with the others. Soon after, Hayato enters the club room and requests the assistance of the service club in putting an end to the circulation of these texts. Understanding the gravity of the situation, the club accepts Hayato's request. But after realizing that the chain texts are linked to the upcoming workplace visit, where only 3 people per group are allowed, and Hayato's group consists of 4 members, the service club deduces that someone is spreading rumors to eliminate one person from the group. Yukino assigns Yu and Hikigaya the task of gathering information on the 3 suspects. However, Yu's lack of subtlety hinders her ability to gather any useful information, and in response, Hikigaya decides to observe Hayato's circle closely. Hikigaya notices that when Hayato is present, the group becomes lively, but when Hayato approaches Hikigaya and inquires about his progress, Hikigaya observes that his group has become quiet and awkward, constantly checking their phones, indicating that they are not genuinely close to each other. Realizing the situation, Hikigaya addresses everyone at the service club, admitting that he doesn't know the identity of the culprit. However, he explains how the behavior of Hayato's group changes when he isn't around, suggesting that they are mere acquaintances to each other. Hikigaya proposes a solution by suggesting that Hayato refuses all his 3 friends to form a group together, allowing them the opportunity to get to know each other better. After the resolution of the text message issue, Hayato expresses his gratitude to Hikigaya for his help and informs him that the messages have ceased. He expresses hope that his 3 friends will have the opportunity to get to know each other better now. Following this, Hayato decides to form a group with Hikigaya and Seika Tatsuka for the workplace visit, but Hayato ends up surrounded by tons of other people who want to join him. Hikigaya arrives late for his after-school prep class and receives a scolding from Shizuka, while another student named Saki Kawasaki also arrives late. Later, Hikigaya coincidentally encounters Yukino, Yu, and Seika at a local cafe, where they are engaged in an after-school study session. To their surprise, Hikigaya's sister, Komachi Hikigaya, and her friend Teishi, Saki's younger brother, join them when Teishi expresses concern for his sister, who often comes home late at night. Recognizing the issue as something that falls within the service club's scope, Yukino agrees to investigate Saki's situation, understanding the importance of helping others. The service club attempts several methods to approach Saki at school, but their efforts prove unsuccessful. Eventually, they receive information from Teishi that Saki works at a cafe in Chiba City. With this lead, they narrow down their search to 2 potential cafes. Their investigation leads them to discover that Saki works at an adult cafe, so in order to blend in with the sophisticated atmosphere, Yukino, Yu, and Hikigaya dress appropriately and head to the hotel to confront Saki. Yukino resorts to using Saki's age lie as leverage. However, Saki still claims that she doesn't want to quit and decides to unveil a surprising revelation. She exposes Yukino's affluent background, implying that she cannot possibly understand Saki's reasons for working. This revelation upsets Yukino, leading her to leave the scene accompanied by Yue. Hikigaya, however, requests Saki to meet him the following morning before school. Hikigaya gathers everyone for the meeting with Saki and claims that Saki is funding her summer school tuition to avoid burdening her family. To solve the problem, Hikigaya suggests that Saki should apply for scholarships, which would provide the necessary financial support. As Hikigaya walks home with his sister Komachi, she reveals to him that Yui is the owner of the dog he saved during the accident, surprising him, and he decides to confront Yui the next day. The following day, during the workplace visit, Hikigaya is the last person to leave and encounters Yui, who had been waiting for him but severed his ties as he thinks that her kindness towards him was merely out of guilt because he had saved her dog. Upset by his words, Yu calls him a jerk and runs off in tears. Hikigaya concludes his belief that as a loner, he may misinterpret the intentions and feelings of girls who show kindness towards him, so he decides to continue his solitary existence. After resetting his relationship with Yu, Hikigaya feels satisfied that she is no longer burdened by guilt. However, Yu seems to have distanced herself from the service club, which worries Yukino, while Shizuka pays a visit to the club and suggests that they should find other members. Yukino proposes that they mend their relationship with Yu by celebrating her birthday. Over the weekend, Yukino, Hikigaya, and Komachi go shopping to find presents for Yu. However, Komachi disappears, leaving Hikigaya and Yukino at a loss for what to buy. Eventually, they settle on getting Yu an apron as a gift. During their outing, they encounter Yukino's older sister, Haruno Yukinoshita, who playfully teases Hikigaya and Yukino about their relationship, hinting at a connection between them. After Haruno leaves, Hikigaya reflects on her cheerful facade and the underlying complexities behind it. While shopping, a dog named Sable suddenly appears and starts playing with Hikigaya, and as they wonder who the dog belongs to, Yu unexpectedly shows up and mistakes their interaction for a date. She quickly decides to leave with Sable, but not before Yukino invites her to visit the service club to talk about their relationship on Monday. On Monday, Yu returns to the service club believing that Hikigaya and Yukino are dating. However, Hikigaya clarifies the misunderstanding, and Yukino expresses her gratitude to Yu for all the support she provided to the club and also presents Yu with a birthday gift, and Hikigaya also gives her a present, referring to their previous encounter during the workplace visit. Yu expresses her reluctance to see their relationship come to an end. Yukino helps mend the rift between them by suggesting that by ending one path, they can begin a new one and leave to inform Shizuka of Yui's return. Relieved, Yu opens Hikigaya's present and wears it thinking it's a necklace, but it turns out to be Sable's collar, causing her to leave. As Hikigaya prepares to leave, he picks up a book belonging to Yukino and reflects on her words, contemplating the possibilities ahead. After that, the summer break starts and Hikigaya receives tons of messages from Shizuka, which frightens him, so he turns off his phone to avoid further torment. After a while, Komachi enters the room to ask Hikigaya to visit Chiba as she completed her summer homework. Hikigaya reluctantly agrees, but when he goes out with Komachi, he realizes that his sister tricked him as Shizuka and others are waiting for him. Seika also joins the group, which makes Hikigaya happy. Along the way, Shizuka reveals that they are visiting Chiba Village for volunteer work, including guiding children through their summer camp. Hayato group also joins the group, which Yukino finds annoying, but Shizuka explains that they were lured out with a bribe of extra marks from this activity. Shizuka further explains that working together with people of opposite natures will help them grow further in practical life. After the speech, the students are informed that their first task will be to observe the children while they search for different checkpoints. As everyone goes into the forest, a group of girls gets into a bit of trouble, making Hayato go about the rescue, while Yukino takes interest in one of the girls named Ruby Tsurumi, who is still alone while others laugh at her. As Hayato helps them, Komachi and Hina make Hikigaya realize that he doesn't have a chance against a person like Hayato, not like Hikigaya wants to impress someone. While finding checkpoints, Hayato tries to converse with Rumi to make her feel welcome, but Yukino states that such behavior will only make Rumi miserable. After that, Shizuka tasks the children with their duties as they make lunch while she asks the students to observe them. Hayato again tries to talk with Rumi, but she retreats and approaches Hikigaya to ask him about his name. Yukino intervenes, giving Hikigaya a hilarious name which triggers his memories when he used to be called by that nickname. Yu also approaches them to ask Rumi to join her friends, making Rumi claim that she doesn't have a place among them as they already excluded her from their group, making Rumi rethink her past mistakes of excluding others. Soon after, the students share their worries about Rumi with Shizuka, who asks them to find a solution, making Yu claim that they cannot directly help her, as Rumi also blames herself. Shizuka leaves the task of helping Rumi to them, making Hina give out some elaborate yet incomprehensible advice, making Yumiko take her away. Not everyone can have your type of hobby, Hina. After talking with dead ends, everyone decides to sleep and Hikigaya leaves the room to get fresh air, where he encounters Yukino, who is staring at the sky, and claims that she wants to do something to help out Rumi. Otherwise, she will be left alone like them and leave. In the morning, Seiko wakes up Hikigaya and asks him to give out his number, which startles Hikigaya as he cannot believe he only used his phone for alarm. Seiko saves his number and sends Hikigaya a cute message, which makes Hikigaya faint. During the breakfast, Shizuka explains today's events, which include the test of courage and bonfire, and asks students to prepare for the event while they also decide about Ruby's situation. After completing the bonfire structure, Hikigaya goes towards the river bank, where he encounters Komachi and Yui in a swimming suit, making him divert his eyes, even though his eyes keep drawing towards Yu's outfit. After that, Yukino approaches Hikigaya, who is trying to wash away his guilt of looking at Yu, but decides to tease Yukino for her petite physique, causing Shizuka to hit him as well. Soon, as everyone plays around, Hikigaya sits in a corner where Rumi joins him, making Yu and Yukino approach them. The conversation naturally turns towards Rumi's struggles in making friends. While she shares her concerns, Hikigaya decides to act on his plan. While looking at the scary costumes, Hikigaya decides to explain his plan of helping Rumi by destroying the already present friendship, which bothers everyone, but as they cannot come up with another plan, they decide to follow Hikigaya. At night during the event, Hikigaya set the stage, and as Rumi's group approaches the depth of the forest, Yumiko and others decide to scare them by claiming that their behavior has offended them and ask them to leave 3 girls behind if they want to survive, which makes them give out Rumi, while they also have a fight among themselves who will go next. This makes Hikigaya claim that people only care for themselves in the face of any problem, and this will result in resetting their group. As the girls give out another one of their friends, Hikigaya decides to intervene, but Rumi saves her friends with the help of her camera flash, which surprises everyone while the girls run away. After the test, Shizuka approaches Hikigaya to praise him for his efforts, even though they were the lowest, but they will help Rumi in the long run. Yukino also commends Hikigaya for his idea, and Hayato wonders if they could have been friends if they had attended the same middle school. The next day, as the group prepares to leave, Yukino's sister, Haruno, arrives in a black limousine to pick Yukino up. Haruno playfully teases Hikigaya and Yukino before mentioning that their mother is waiting. Yukino's expression turns pale, and she leaves with Haruno. As the limousine drives away, Hikigaya and Yu recognize it as the one that had hit Hikigaya when he saved Yu's dog. Hikigaya pretends to have no recollection, but internally acknowledges that he does remember the incident. As the summer vacation ends, Hikigaya thinks that he didn't see Yukino after the camp, while Sable teases their cat. Soon, Yu visits to get her dog, but before leaving, Yu invites the siblings to the upcoming fireworks, but Komachi reluctantly refuses and asks her brother to accompany Yui. Even Komachi knows what Yu is trying to do, while Hikigaya is a dense freak lol. The next day, Yu meets up with Hikigaya in a yukata, which makes him compliment her, and they leave to get on the train. While on the train, Yu slips, making Hikigaya claim that he might have fallen in love if he was a normal guy. As the duo looks around at different stalls, Yu is called out by another classmate, Sagami, who immediately tries to make fun of Yu for coming with Hikigaya, so he leaves to get to another stall as he doesn't want to be a nuisance for Yu. Soon, Yu joins Hikigaya and they get apple candy while the fireworks starts, so they find a place to look at them. As they look for a place, Yu compliments Hikigaya for his kindness, making him blow his own trumpet while claiming that the world would have ended if he decided to take revenge on people who hurt him. As they talk, Haruno calls out to them and they get the chance to sit in a VIP area while she tries to make Hikigaya flustered for cheating on Yukino, but Hikigaya denies and Yu feels embarrassed. Yu's reaction makes Haruno claim that Yukino will be left alone yet again, which startles both of them, and Hikigaya diverts the conversation by asking Haruno about her life. Haruno claims that their mother is extremely strict, which is the reason why she has to attend such social functions, while Yukino has a different approach. After that, Haruno decides to leave her car, which again takes Hikigaya's attention, making Haruno claim that there are no scratches left after the accident and leave. The realization that Yukino's car was the one that hit Hikigaya makes him gloomy, while Yu tries to ask him, making Hikigaya claim that Yukino never talked to him about it. As they walk home, Yu suggests that even without the accident, she might have met Hikigaya and would have become close, but before she can complete her sentence, Yu gets a call from her mother and she leaves. The summer vacation ends and Hikigaya meets up with Yukino, who tries to talk to him about the accident, but he ignores him and leaves while he talks to himself that he now hates himself for thinking that Yukino never lies. The Cold War starts between Yukino and Hikigaya while Yu tries to mend their relationship with no hope. Meanwhile, Hikigaya is given the role of committee member by Shizuka for the upcoming cultural festival as he is sleeping in the classroom and leaves so that the students can decide who will be the female representative. When you've asked about the duties of a female representative, Sagami intervenes and claims that she should join the committee as she is already friends with Hikigaya, but Hayato intervenes and claims that this role should be given to someone more responsible and suggests Sagami take up the role, making her comply. At the meeting, the student council president, Meguri Shiro Meguri, asks someone to head the committee while suggesting that Yukino should take up the role, which she politely declines, but Sagami decides to take up the role as she wants to test her leadership skills. After the meeting, Hikigaya meets up with Yukino and Yui in the club room, where Yukino decides that they should suspend the club activities till the cultural festival ends, but as they decide to leave, Sagami enters the club to ask Yukino's help regarding her role as the committee head, which Yukino refuses first. But Sagami insists on making Yukino suggest that if Sagami just wants a helping hand, she can guide her, which makes Yu and Hikigaya angry. After Sagami leaves, Yu confronts Yukino, but as she doesn't find words to explain her feelings, she leaves and asks Hikigaya to support Yukino when she needs help. At the meeting, Yukino takes up the lead while Sagami feels left out as Yukino orders the students to perform their duties diligently. Meanwhile, Hikigaya is given the role in the class play, which he doesn't take up as he is already working on making Hina change her role, and she delegates it to Seika while Hayato sulks. After that, Hikigaya visits the meeting point where Haruno teases Yukino because she wants to join the festival as a volunteer. Yukino leaves the matter in Sagami's hands, who lets Haruno join. Haruno suggests that they should also enjoy the festival, making Sagami claim that the committee members can also enjoy this time. Talk about being sly, which makes many of the committee members skip work while those remaining have to work harder. Hayato visits the committee room to fill in the volunteer form, and by looking at the situation, he decides to help to make Hikigaya think that people who work alone cannot take on such help, but he still decides to take Yukino's side by taking the blame on himself by stating that he doesn't want to work hard, making Yukino comply. The next day, Shizuka informs the committee that Yukino is on leave as she is not feeling well, which bothers Hikigaya. While Hayato and Seika are practicing for the drama, Yu gets a call from Hikigaya that Yukino is sick, making both of them visit her after school. The Lippamy apartment complex startles Hikigaya while Yu contacts Yukino so that they can get into her apartment. As the duo reaches Yukino's apartment, Hikigaya is again left in awe by the look of the room while Yukino asks Yu about the reason for her visit. A weird silence occurs as Yu tries to reach out to Yukino by claiming that Yukino should depend on them, as they are always there to support her, but Yukino tries to avoid Yu's words as she brings out tea. After that, Hikigaya leaves while Yukino approaches Yu and appreciates her for her thoughtfulness. The next day, as all the committee members gather to decide on the slogan, Hikigaya decides to play his part by suggesting berating the slogan, as the committee in this festival only gave him a lot of work which he didn't want, my man, speaking facts, which makes Yukino laugh, and she asks Sagami to postpone the meeting till tomorrow so that they all bring different ideas. Hikigaya's comments on the festival cause everyone to despise him for not working, while Yukino suggests that Hikigaya should try to clear up the misunderstanding, which makes him suggest that he only wanted the solution. Not everyone likes him, making Yukino leave. She says goodbye to Hikigaya. The next day, the slogan is decided, and the committee works hard so that the preparation is done in time while Sagami feels left out. Haruno approaches Hikigaya to tease him about the work he is doing, which makes Yukino bring about more work to Hikigaya as she claims that he is sulking. The next day, the cultural festival starts with great enthusiasm, while Sagami is called on stage where she loses her ground and the public makes fun of her. After that, Hikigaya visits his classroom where Hayato and Seika are performing their skit, and by the looks of it, Hikigaya realizes that not taking part in the skit was his right decision. After the skit, as Hikigaya sits outside his classroom, Yu approaches him and Hikigaya asks about what happened after he left last night, making Yu inform that Yukino didn't talk, but still she is glad that Yukino decided to open up with her. After that, Yu opens the box of sweets, which Hikigaya doesn't like at first but eats anyway, and asks Yu about the price, which makes her suggest that Hikigaya can treat her some other time, which Hikigaya realizes that it will be a date. Elsewhere, Sagami hides from everyone while she feels burdened by her stupidity. As the cultural festival continues, Hikigaya is captured working by his sister, Komachigu finds it amusing and leaves to see different stalls. After that, Hikigaya encounters Yukino and both of them go towards the ending ceremony where Harena is performing a musical making Yukino compliment her. While they watch, a student tells Yukino that Sagami is missing and is nowhere to be found, making her gather other students while she asks Hikigaya to find Sagami, but he asks that he needs more time. Hayato and his group decide to perform another song while Yukino contacts her sister asking her for a favor. Harena decides to help Yukino due to her confident behavior, making Hikigaya to also compliment Yukino for her resilience while he also leaves to find Sagami. Hikigaya contacts Zamakuza to narrow down places where Sagami might be hiding as she also wants others to find her. Zamakuza gives him a different place and Hikigaya manages to find Sagami at the top of a laboratory where she is sulking. Hikigaya confronts Sagami while he also asks her to come down, claiming that Sagami is upset as Yukino stole the spotlight from her and is upset despite her being the one who asked for Yukino's help. Hikigaya realizes that he cannot persuade Sagami due to his pessimistic nature, but Hayato and Sagami's circle arrive to persuade her to come down, but she refuses. With no other options, Hikigaya manipulates Sagami by exposing her true motives, guilt-tripping her into returning to the ceremony, which infuriates Hayato, and he tackles Hikigaya, while criticizing his tendency to play the victim or resort to meanness. Meanwhile, Yui, Yukino, Haruno, Meguri, and Shizuka perform an additional musical piece, buying enough time for Sagami to return and deliver the closing speech. After the ceremony, everyone shows mixed reactions regarding Hikigaya's actions, while Shizuka praises Hikigaya for his ability to find solutions to people's problems, but laments that he always sacrifices himself in the process. In the evening, Hikigaya and Yukino have a conversation in the service club room, reflecting on their initial encounter and the progress they've made in getting to know each other. Yukino subtly hints at their growing friendship. Yu later arrives and invites them to an after-party organized by Hayato to celebrate the success of the festival. As the evening winds down, Hikigaya contemplates the transient nature of life and how some moments cannot be recreated. He acknowledges that even seemingly insignificant moments such as spending time in the service club may hold value and realizes that he might miss these moments once they are gone. As the cultural festival ends and things go back to normal, the service club has introduced a new emailing system where students can email them with their problem, and their first email turns out to be related to the sports festival, as the sender wants the upcoming sports festival memorable. While the group comments on the previous sports gala, Meguri comes into the club where she informs that she is the one who sent the email and is looking forward to their help. Meguri also informs the trio that she wants to do something special for the featured events so that they will be memorable for the students and asks them to join their meeting, as it is happening right now. The meeting starts, but no matter how many ideas service clubs suggest, all of them get rejected by Shizuka due to multiple reasons, which makes Hikigaya suggest as they are not suitable for this task, so they should outsource some ideas, and for that they contact Zamakuza and Hina, who comes up with elaborate yet memorable games that Shizuka agrees on, and all of them prepare for the upcoming event. On the day of the event, Meguri shows her gratitude towards the service club for helping her organize such a great event, while Yukino claims that they will also help her win as well. The students take part in different games, with the white team taking the lead as Hayato is their starting player, while the red team is right behind them. Soon the featured events start when the red team realizes that they will have to win both events if they want to emerge victorious in this event. The girls' team, led by Yukino, and the others manages to win their part, and Yukino asks Hikigaya to keep the promise. While the boys prepare for the game, Hina's evil intentions are revealed on the microphone. What to do with this girl? Hikigaya devises a plan that involves himself and Zamakuza executing a twofold deception strategy, making the others protect Seika, while others focus on Hayato. During the boys' event, Hikigaya utilizes Zamakuza as a distraction while he stealthily approaches the white team's pole by disguising himself with bandages to blend in as a white team member. Although Hayato intervenes and tries to stop him, Hikigaya reveals his double feat, allowing Zamakuza to charge at the pole and secure the win for the red team, which is celebrated by everyone. However, the following day in the club room, it is revealed that the boys' team was disqualified due to the illegality of Hikigaya's plan. Despite this setback, they make a promise to win in the following year's festival. Hikigaya points out the possibility that they might not be on the same team next year, which serves as motivation for Yukino to strive even harder. After some days, as things move along, Seika decides to ask Hikigaya to be his partner for the upcoming trip, while Hayato and Hina meet up with their friends. After the classes, Hikigaya and the others sit in the club room to enjoy tea, and the conversation topic shifts to the upcoming field trip. Yukino passionately shares her detailed plans for the trip, leaving Hikigaya and Yui with the suspicion that she is secretly excited about it, but refuses to admit it openly. After that, Tobe and Hayato enter the class to ask the service club members a favor, but Tobe refuses to talk as Hikigaya is sitting there, making Yu and Yukino take Hikigaya's side, as they even ask the duo to leave, which surprises Hikigaya. Tobe decides to come clean and explain that he has feelings for Hina, so he wants service club help so that he can confess during the trip. Yui and Yukino find themselves at odds with differing perspectives, leading to a deadlock in the decision-making process. However, Hikigaya ultimately agrees with Yu's proposition and directs his attention to Tobe, urging him to consider the potential risks involved. Meanwhile, Yu devises a series of schemes to create an opportunity for Tobe to confess his feelings during the field trip. However, their discussions are interrupted by the unexpected arrival of Hina, who approaches them with her request. Hina expresses her contentment with the current dynamics within their group and emphasizes her desire for everyone, including Hikigaya and the service club, to foster better relationships with Tobe. Hina surely wants more fun for herself. Surprisingly, she specifically singles out Hikigaya, leaving him puzzled and uncertain about her intentions. The following day, the students embark on their much-anticipated field trip, and as they settle into their seats, Yu makes a valiant effort to arrange for Tobe and Hina to sit together, but her attempts prove unsuccessful. Throughout the first day of the trip, Yu persistently tries to create opportunities for Tobe and Hina to spend time together. However, Hikigaya keenly observes that Hayato is casting a shadow of doubt over her matchmaking plans. Later that evening, as Hikigaya sits in the hotel lobby, he unexpectedly encounters Yukino, who's trying to get a bear. Even Yukino likes cute stuff all. Yukino approaches Hikigaya, and as they discuss Tobe's requests, they catch sight of Shizuka discreetly sneaking out of the hotel. Shizuka, realizing that Hikigaya and Yukino have discovered her secret, resorts to bribery, treating them to a tempting meal of ramen in exchange for their silence. Afterward, as the night grows darker, Hikigaya accompanies Yukino on their way back to the hotel. However, Yukino becomes visibly uneasy, expressing her reluctance for the two of them to be seen together by others, making Hikigaya wait outside while Yukino enters the hotel alone. Hikigaya awakens from a dream, recalling Komachi's list of souvenirs for the trip, and the group prepares to leave for the haunted house exhibit, where Hina let out an eerie, unsettling laughter, causing everyone to scream. In the second group, everyone clings to Hikigaya except for Seika, who appears to be enjoying the experience. During a particularly scary moment, Yu accidentally bumps her head against Hikigaya, leaving both of them surprised, making Saki flee the scene, with Seika chasing after her, and Hikigaya extends his hand to help Yu up, surprising them. Love is in the air. After the tour, they coincidentally encounter Yukino at a temple, who offers her contribution in the form of a paper containing a list of places that girls would enjoy. Later that night, Hikigaya stumbles upon Yumiko at a convenience store, who rudely warns Hikigaya to stay away from Hina and not to meddle with her. Yumiko confesses her attempts to set Hina up, resulting in Hina pretending not to know Yumiko at all. Finally understanding the true purpose behind China's visit to the service club, Hikigaya assures Yumiko that everything will work out and hints at Hayato's upcoming actions, bringing a sense of relief to Yumiko. The next day, the members of the service club spend time together and coincidentally run into Hayato's group, where Hina reminds Hikigaya of her request and inquiries about the progress with the guys. After that, the service club visits a bamboo forest and decides it would be the perfect location for Tobe's confession to Hina, while Tobe grows nervous, but his friends try to calm him down. Meanwhile, Hayato's uncooperative behavior resurfaces, and he leaves the hotel, making Hikigaya follow him, and they engage in a heated argument about Hayato's actions. Hikigaya sees through Hayato's desire to maintain a shallow, superficial relationship with his friends without any real growth, making them part ways, both unwilling to rely on each other. During the confession in the illuminated bamboo forest, Hikigaya asks Tobe what he will do if Hina rejects him, making Tobe express that he will not give up, and Hikigaya encourages him to stay resolute until the end. Yukino and Yu playfully tease Hikigaya for his approach, but he remains silent when questioned about his strategy. Nevertheless, Yukino and Yu give their approval just as he appears, and Hikigaya's logical thinking leads him to a plan to protect Tobe from rejection and prevent internal damage to Hayato's group, while Hikigaya boldly steps forward and makes a fake confession to Hina, surprising everyone except Hayato. Hina rejects Hikigaya, expressing her desire not to be in a relationship, making Tobe think that he will keep on trying, while Hayato apologizes, knowing that this was Hikigaya's only solution. Yukino angrily voices her hatred for Hikigaya's approach and walks away in anger. However, Yu shares her perspective and asks Hikigaya not to repeat such actions. But Hikigaya stands by his method, while Yu reluctantly agrees, acknowledging that things are back to normal, but finds it lacking in consideration and leaves with tears in her eyes. The following day, Hina meets Hikigaya on the rooftop of Kyoto Station to express her gratitude, where Hikigaya realizes that she wanted to prevent Tove's confession and suspects. She made a similar request to Hayato. After the trip in Hikigaya's house, when Komachi asks about Hikigaya's well-being, he responds evasively, leading to a conflict between the siblings. In the classroom, Hikigaya observes Hayato's group acting normally and heads to the clubroom with a sense of unhappiness. Upon entering, the atmosphere becomes tense, but Yu expresses regret for not fully understanding their group, making Yukino console her. Hikigaya suggests moving on and returning to normalcy, although Yukino appears troubled by his words. Before she can share her thoughts, Shizuka interrupts with a request involving Iroha's nomination for the Student Council President election. Iroha claims that reluctantly participated due to her friend's pressure, so she wants to forfeit without damaging her image, making Hikigaya propose a strategy of an intentionally terrible campaign speech to protect Iroha's image, but Yu and Yukino disapprove of his approach. Yukino expresses her disapproval in a hostile and emotional manner, suggesting an alternative to supporting another candidate. However, Hikigaya points out that no one has announced their candidacy yet, making Yukino mention that there is no reason for them to work together or choose the same method. Upset by her words, Hikigaya abruptly leaves the club, with Yukino's remark about their shared disdain for superficiality echoing in his mind. Shizuka questions Hikigaya about the situation and advises him that his methods won't truly help the person he wants to assist. Later in the night, Hikigaya encounters Haruno at a restaurant, where she expresses disappointment that Yukino isn't striving to become the student council president. Kaori and her friend notice Hikigaya and engage in conversation while she acts surprised to learn that Hikigaya attends Sobu High School. Kaori assumes that Haruno is Hikigaya's girlfriend, but Hikigaya clarifies that they're not in a relationship. However, Haruno probes Kaori about Hikigaya's past and romantic life, making Kaori casually mention Hikigaya asking her out, which surprises him. Kaori then expresses an interest in meeting Hayato, but Hikigaya denies having a connection with him, while Haruno promises to introduce the girls to Hayato and calls him to join them. Later, as Kaori and her friends leave, Hayato questions Haruno's motives and Hikigaya's involvement, making Hayato reveals that Haruno likes Hikigaya, but Hikigaya dismisses it, believing Haruno is merely toying with him, causing Hayato explains that Haruno manipulates those she likes and destroys those she hates. Talk about being scary. The following morning, Hikigaya is approached by Yu, who invites him to join the club for another session regarding Iroha's request. Inside the club room, Hikigaya begins by highlighting the shortcomings of its current approach, emphasizing its lack of sustainability. Yukino, in response, criticizes Hikigaya's tendency to evade problems instead of addressing them directly. At a loss for words, Hikigaya decides to leave the room, leaving the conversation unresolved. Hayato approaches Hikigaya before leaving for home, asking about his availability on Saturday, which confuses Hikigaya. Surprised, Hayato informs Hikigaya about the outing plans that were discussed via text messages between him and Kaori. Despite Hayato's invitation, Hikigaya declines, stating his intention to relax during the weekend. Hayato bows and insists Hikigaya come along to help, but Hikigaya's response remains unchanged. Komachi, still upset with Hikigaya, hands him her phone, and Haruno urges him to go on the date with Hayato with the warning that she will personally drag him there if he refuses. The next evening, Hayato and Hikigaya wait for the girls at Chiba Station, where Hayato appreciates Hikigaya's presence, making him claim that the credits belong to Haruno. Soon the girls arrive and they walk alongside Hayato, while Hikigaya follows a couple of steps behind. During the movie outing, Hikigaya realizes that Kaori's behavior towards him is consistent with how she treats everyone. After the film, they discuss it, with the girls being amazed by Hayato's calmness during an explosion scene and Kaori teasing Hikigaya for his reaction. During shopping, the girls put on a fashion show for Hayato, while Hikigaya observes Hina and Yumiko, who watches Hayato from a distance, but before she can approach him, Yumiko falls down, accidentally reveals her pink panties to Hikigaya, leading him to urge Hayato to move on. They encounter Tove and Iroha, with Iroha questioning Hikigaya, causing him to read between the lines and understand Iroha's intentions. As they choose a place to eat, Kaori again makes fun of Hikigaya's choice but follows Hayato where he takes them. At the nearby cafe, Haruno waves to Hikigaya, while the girls tease him for his choice of restaurant, which he ignores, making Hayato express his dislike for their behavior, confusing everyone. Yukino and Yu arrive with Hayato, revealing that he invited them, praising Hikigaya and stating that he gets along better with the girls than Kaori and her friend, making Kaori and her friend leave in discomfort. After that, Haruno provokes Yukino, comparing her to their mother, making Yukino leaves with Yu, and Hikigaya questions Hayato's actions. The next day, Shizuka tells Hikigaya about Yukino's decision to run for the election. and Hikigaya confirms it with Yukino in front of Yu, who is shocked. After school, Yu walks home with Hikigaya and expresses her desire to run for the election, feeling guilty for not contributing enough to the club's activities. Hikigaya sits alone in his dark room until Komachi enters and ignores him. Komachi rummages through the refrigerator while Hikigaya offers to make coffee and seeks advice from Komachi, leading to a resolution of their conflicts, making Hikigaya explain the entire situation to her. Komachi grasps Hikigaya's perspective, but cautions that others may not understand. Komachi asks Hikigaya to prevent Yukino and Yu from becoming candidates and save the club. The next day, Hikigaya observes Yu preparing her campaign with Yumiko and Hina, and Hikigaya decides to do his part as he goes into the school library, where he encounters Zamakuza, who offers his support. They discuss the situation over a meal with others, and each provides their insights. Hikigaya realizes his mistake and devises a strategy based on Aroha's desire to protect her public image. Hikigaya asks Saki for a list of potential candidates for the student council presidency, making Saki even mention Hikigaya as well. In the night, Hikigaya and Zamakuza create a campaign Twitter account for each candidate, and as the tweets gain attention from students throughout the school, Hikigaya contacts Zamakuza to complete his plan. The next day, Hikigaya visits Aroha, where Hikigaya realizes Aroha's feelings for Hayato and clarifies the misunderstanding as she asks about Kaori and her friend. Hikigaya carefully chooses his words to provoke Aroha's desire for revenge on her classmates as they pressure her, and reveals that the list consists of nominations from the Twitter account and highlights the advantages of becoming president, including the opportunity to spend more time with Hayato, making Aroha comply. Hikigaya arrives at the service club, where Yukino and Yui are still determined to pursue their candidacy. However, Hikigaya presents them with the list, stating that Aroha has agreed to become the student council president. Yukino questions whether Hikigaya orchestrated it, but he claims that unknown volunteers were responsible for making Yukino leave, as her reason for acting is now gone, and to inform Shizuka about the conclusion of the request. Hikigaya apologizes to Yu for her hard work, but she reassures him and tries to fix Hikigaya's hair while hugging him, and explains that she knew she couldn't surpass Yukino. Even if she won, she wouldn't be able to stay in the club, so she is grateful that Hikigaya protected her favorite place. Yu emphasizes that Hikigaya did his best, even if he believes he didn't do anything visible, while suggesting that he might be carrying a hidden guilt in his conscience. The election results are announced. Aroha emerges as the new student council president, and Hikigaya congratulates her and offers help carry Meguri's luggage. As they walk, Meguri expresses her desire for Yukino to become president, Yu to be the vice president, Hikigaya to handle general affairs, and herself to continue visiting and reminiscing about the fun times they could have shared during cultural and athletic festivals, even after her graduation, making Hikigaya think that there is no reset button in real life. In the club room, Yu and Hikigaya appear to act normally, while Yukino wears a forced smile, indicating the tense atmosphere. Hikigaya becomes lost in thought as he watches Hayato's group, while Yu questions him about it, and they decide to go to the club together. In the club room, as Yu and Yukino talk, Hikigaya contemplates why he was fixated on Hayato's group. Suddenly, Aroha knocks on the door with a request and explains that she has to plan a Christmas event as part of her student council duties, mentioning how Shizuka encouraged her to take it on. When Yukino seeks their opinions, Yu votes to accept the request, while Hikigaya goes against it, while watching Yukino's strange behavior, stating that Aroha shouldn't rely on others, and dismisses her. Aroha reveals that she took on the role because of Hikigaya, causing him to internally acknowledge that he should consider her. Outside the club, Hikigaya offers to personally help Aroha, rather than as a club duty, which she agrees to, and they decide to meet at the conference venue. At the entrance, Aroha exits a shop with bags and a sign, mistaking Hikigaya's offer to carry them as an advance and rejecting him on the spot. "My poor guy Hikigaya, there is no place for kindness in this world." Inside the seminar hall, Tamanawa, the president of another school, is present for the Christmas joint event organization, while Hikigaya coincidentally encounters Kaori, who is also volunteering for the event. During the conference, Hikigaya observes the committee members randomly throwing out ideas, and he also notices Tamanawa repetitively using similar words in both English and Japanese, causing him to think that they are spitting nonsense. Hikigaya observes that Aroha gets along better with the opposing sides rather than with her student council, who don't hold her in high regard. The following day, the planning committee decides to expand their event, despite the limitations of resources, making Hikigaya explain to Aroha that they lack the necessary manpower, time, and funds for a larger-scale event. Feeling desperate, Hikigaya decides to mimic the behavior of others and indirectly rejects the idea of involving other high schools, which gets rejected. Eventually, the committee comes up with the idea of incorporating a game education theme by involving a local grade school. After the meeting, as Hikigaya sits and sips his coffee, Kaori approaches him and questions whether he was part of the student council in middle school, but Hikigaya refuses. She jokingly asks about Hikigaya's girlfriend, but he denies it, explaining that his relationship with the girls from the double date is strictly as clubmates, surprising Kaori that Hikigaya is part of a club and asks for its name. Hikigaya responds with Service Club, causing Kaori to burst into laughter. I think Kaori has a loose nut in her head. Hikigaya and Yua make their way to the Service Club, where Hikigaya informs her that he will be leaving early until Christmas, making Yu inform that she knows that Hikigaya is assisting Iroha. Hikigaya inquires if Yukino knows about it, making Yu reveal that they can observe his actions. Yu ponders if Yukino truly desired to become the president and whether accepting Iroha's request might affect their relationship, but Hikigaya has doubts. Hikigaya seeks permission from Yukino to leave early and sets off to find Iroha, but she is nowhere to be found. However, Hikigaya returns to school where he engages in an uncomfortable conversation with Hayato about their motives for helping others. Eventually, Hikigaya returns to the community center and encounters Iroha, who appears physically drained. The planning committee has now included elementary school students who are unsure of what to do. One brave girl volunteers to approach them for guidance, and to Hikigaya's surprise, the girl turns out to be Rumi. Memories of their past interactions flood Hikigaya's mind while Iroha is unsure of what to assign the elementary students, making Hikigaya suggest that they take charge and involve the children in decorating. Hikigaya engages in a discussion with Tamanawa about the urgent need to decide on a plan for the upcoming Christmas event to avoid wasting manpower as they throw around ideas, but Tamanawa still ignores his requests and yet again throws different ideas. On his way home, Hikigaya unexpectedly meets Seika, and they have dinner together. Seika questions Hikigaya's exhaustion, leading to Hikigaya briefly explaining the situation. Seika admires Hikigaya's coolness, but Hikigaya doubts his coolness. The next day in the committee, Hikigaya and the vice president realize the plans have exceeded the budget and must either secure additional funds or scale down the event. Iroha informs them that the elementary kids have finished decorating, and Hikigaya assigns her the next task, making him realize that he's deviating from the club's principles by doing their job instead of lending a hand. Hikigaya discusses the budget issue with Tamanawa again, but the outcome remains uncertain. Spotting Rumi decorating alone, Hikigaya offers to help, but she responds sarcastically. Despite this, Hikigaya insists on assisting her, and once the work is complete, interrupts Rumi's gratitude to offer help to her classmates. After the meeting, feeling that his efforts to save Rumi are still inadequate, Hikigaya coincidentally encounters Yukino, who admits that she knows Hikigaya has been assisting Iroha and that he didn't have to lie about it. Hikigaya attempts to explain himself, but his words fall on deaf ears. Yukino reassures him that he doesn't have to force himself to attend the club because he's always considerate of everyone. Sitting on a bench, Hikigaya reflects on Yukino's words about not forcing himself to the club, while Shizuka honks her car horn and offers him a ride home. She asks if he's okay with a detour, and as Shizuka hums and drives, Hikigaya almost falls asleep. They arrive at a bridge overlooking a river, and Hikigaya glances at the handrail and Shizuka tosses him a can, prompting him to explain the situation with the planning committee's lack of action and the president's fear of causing problems. In making Hikigaya questions their relevance, and Shizuka reveals that she was asking about them, not the planning committee. Shizuka advises Hikigaya to think critically, analyze the situation, and eliminate potential solutions one by one to find the answer he's seeking. Hikigaya expresses his doubts about whether this approach will help him understand others better, which makes Shizuka admit to making mistakes in her own life, resulting in her current single status. Surprisingly, Hikigaya remarks that no one has good. However, she expresses her wish for Hikigaya to be that person for them. Taking Shizuka's advice, Hikigaya stays up all night calculating a solution, which makes him realize the problems at hand, questioning his motives during the election and recognizing his need for help. In the morning, Hikigaya knocks on the service club's door, surprising Yu and Yukino, and explains the dire state of the Christmas event, and takes responsibility for Iroha's situation and Rumi's unchanged status. Hikigaya requests their assistance and acknowledges his own mistakes. Yukino challenges Hikigaya, questioning if he truly feels responsible, and tells him to fix his errors, leaving Yu and Hikigaya shocked. Yu disagrees, claiming that Hikigaya isn't solely to blame and that they all share the responsibility, including Yukino, making Yukino accuse Yu of playing dirty and not speaking up herself. Hikigaya interrupts, expressing that he won't accept their words at face value and attempts to understand the underlying meanings. He argues that true understanding goes beyond mere conversation. In an intense moment, both Yukino and Yui are stunned to see Hikigaya on the verge of tears, struggling to articulate his thoughts. Finally, Hikigaya declares that he seeks something genuine between them, which shocks Yukino, and she apologizes, runs away, and slams the club door. Yui asks Hikigaya to follow her and hold hands, but he chooses to walk alone. They find Yukino, who questions Hikigaya about the meaning of genuine. Yu comforts Yukino, claiming that she also doesn't understand it yet, and they both cry while hugging. Yukino accepts Hikigaya's request, and Yu promises to help as well. Hikigaya finds himself lying on the sofa, feeling embarrassed about his request to the service club. Komachi enters the room and playfully questions him about it, and Hikigaya explains that he's going through a minor identity crisis, but Komachi imitates him and lightens the mood and assures him that she likes him just the way he is. The next day at the service club, Yukino asks about the time and place for their meeting, and Hikigaya suggests waiting for Yu's arrival, so they only have to explain the plans once. Yukino agrees, and when Yu arrives, she happily closes the gap between herself and Yukino. At the community center, Yukino and Yu witness Iroha casually handing her grocery bag to Hikigaya, leaving them both in silent surprise. After the session, Yukino and Yui accept the committee's lack of progress, and Yui asks Hikigaya about the plan, but they're all surprised to discover that he's clueless as well. They visit Shizuka in the staff room, and she listens to their problems. Surprised by their lack of understanding about Christmas celebrations, Shizuka offers them 4 tickets to Destinyland, which she won at a marriage party, to help them learn more about Christmas parties. My poor single Shizuka-san. Hikigaya and Yukino hesitate due to the timing, but Yu convinces Yukino by mentioning Pan-san's bamboo fight, which intrigues Yukino's interest, but she still refuses. Hikigaya then asks for help in choosing a present for Komachi, and Yukino finally agrees to go, prompting a smile from Shizuka. Iroha inquires if it will be just the 4 of them, and Yukino reveals she has a yearly pass, making Iroha invite another person, keeping it a secret. At the station, Hikigaya spots his clubmates Iroha, Hayato, and his group members, which surprises him. They all enter the amusement park, and Yu asks China to take various pictures, including one with just the club members. While waiting for a ride, Tobe asks Hayato if he can ride with him, injuring both Iroha and Yumiko, but Hikigaya suggests Heina to help Toh, leading to her playfully retaliating with BL talk. After a ride, Iroha seems tired and nearly trips, but Yumiko catches her and offers water, making Iroha think it was Hayato. The group enjoys the Pan-san bamboo fight ride, although Yukino asks them to stay silent, intriguing Hikigaya. At a Pan-san corner, Yumiko shares her opinion that Pan-san isn't cute, causing Yukino to glare and approach her angrily. However, Iroha defends Pan-san's cuteness to Hayato, which soothes Yukino. While searching for Komachi's present, Yu uses a Pan-san puppet to ask Hikigaya about his desires, reminding them of his requests and making Yu blush. Yu expresses her wish to visit the amusement park again, recalling Hikigaya's promise of honey toast, while Yukino joins them with an armful of Pan-san dolls. Our girl is surely cute. The group gets briefly separated, with Yukino and Hikigaya on one side of the barricade, while Hikigaya and Yukino wait in a queue, noticing Yukino's unease with rides. During the ride, Yukino explains her fear caused by her sister's meddling and asks Hikigaya for help as the ride moves along. They reunite with Yu, and as they enjoy the fireworks, Hikigaya observes Iroha and Hayato in a distant encounter, with Iroha seemingly confessing but Hayato responding negatively, leaving Iroha in tears. Meanwhile, Hayato appears sorrowful, looking at the sky. After Hayato rejects Iroha, he encounters Hikigaya and expresses feeling flattered but believes her confession was a result of Hikigaya's presence. Hayato praises Hikigaya for his ability to change people and admits he isn't the nice guy everyone perceives him to be. After that, on the train ride home, Iroha and the service club members part ways, but Iroha makes Hikigaya stay, manipulating him into helping her with her heavy bags. Along the way, Iroha reveals that her actions were influenced by the recent dispute in the club, as she eavesdrops on it and Hikigaya's desire for genuineness. The next day, during the student council meeting, Hikigaya proposes an idea that gets rejected again, and the planning committee suggests splitting the workload for a Christmas play. But Tamanawa and his team object to making Hikigaya address the budget and manpower concerns, leading to a communication breakdown. Yukino and Yu intervene, suggesting a compromise, and Iroha scolds Hikigaya and Yukino for their behavior. Hikigaya accepts Kouri's offer of a tin tea drink, and they have a conversation where she admits seeing him differently, but believes they're not compatible for a romantic relationship, making Hikigaya agree with her. Kouri suggests that they should be friends and invites Hikigaya to their junior high reunion, but Hikigaya rejects bluntly. Later, Hikigaya helps Rumi with decorations, offering his assistance after she initially refuses his help. On the day of the event, Yukino makes cakes, Yu packs cookies, and Iroha expresses nervousness while doing her job diligently. The children show their performance on stage, while elementary school angels distribute the cakes made by Yukino to the audience. Hayato's group is among the audience as the presidents give instructions, leading to a successful event. After the successful event, the service club members have tea in their room, with Yu presenting Hikigaya a mug as a Christmas gift, while Yukino only dismisses it as an upgrade from paper cups. Our little tsundere Yukino. Hikigaya thanks his clubmates for fulfilling his request, but Yukino hints that it hasn't been fulfilled yet, surprising Yu. In the new year, the service club along with Komachi visit the shrine together, and Yu asks Hikigaya to accompany her to buy Yukino's birthday present the next day and leave when she receives a call from Yumiko. Hikigaya also tries to leave, but Komachi insists he stays with Yukino on the train. As the train moves, Yukino holds onto Hikigaya's sweater, and Hikigaya asks about Yukino's visit to her family for the new year, but she doesn't think it will make a difference, making Hikigaya suggest that she should try to go. Hikigaya gets off at a stop, and Yukino smiles and wishes him a pleasant upcoming year as the train door closes. The next day, Yu and Hikigaya encounter Haruno and Hayato at a mall, making Haruno contact Yukino to join them, mentioning Hikigaya's presence. Yukino arrives and is surprised to see Yui there. Haruno criticizes Yukino for being late, but Hayato defends her. Yukino's mother arrives, surprised to meet her friends. As the Yukinashia family and Hayato prepare to leave, an awkward situation arises as Yukino hesitates to go. Hikigaya holds the career path questionnaire, revealing that their third-year elective choices will be determined based on this sheet when Yu and Hina opt for humanities, while Yumiko remains undecided. Yumiko attempts to question Hayato about his choice but receives a vague response. One of their friends brings up the rumor of Hayato seriously dating Yukino, shocking everyone, but Hayato coldly dismisses it and learns about the widespread rumors. In the service club, they celebrate Yukino's birthday with cakes and presents, while Iroha also joins them and asks about the rumors, to which Yukino responds with a cold glare. Iroha reveals that girls have been vying for Hayato's attention and shows a demonstration, flustering Hikigaya. Later, Yumiko confronts them about the rumors, and Yukino brushes them off, causing Yumiko to become angry and bitter. Tensions rise in the room as Yu tries to calm Yumiko, while Hikigaya attempts to soothe Yukino, who smiles warmly, expressing that it's enough for those close to her to understand. Yumiko tearfully reveals her desire for a closer relationship with Hayato. Hikigaya takes up Yumiko's request, and the next day, Hikigaya waits for Hayato on the soccer field, but Hayato gives an indifferent response to Hikigaya's question. Later, Hikigaya has lunch with Seika, discussing career paths and relying on him in the future. After that, Hikigaya visits Iroha along with Yu and Yukino, where Yukino asks Haruno about Hayato's career path, causing Haruno to reply rudely. In the evening, Haruno asks Hikigaya to accompany her to the station and inquires if he asked about the career paths of Yukino and Hayato, to which Hikigaya denies, making Haruno request Hikigaya to find out Yukino's choice, and they agree to compare answers later. Hikigaya strategizes at home and calls Seika for assistance. The next morning during the marathon, Iroha encourages Hayato, prompting Yumiko to do the same. Hikigaya and Hayato proceed ahead, and Hikigaya provokes Hayato with questions about Yumiko and his career path. Hayato's inferiority complex resurfaces, and he expresses his hatred for Hikigaya before sprinting ahead, while Hikigaya falls and Hayato confidently runs, ultimately winning the race and dismissing rumors about Yukino and himself. Hikigaya goes to the infirmary and finds Yukino there, and they engage in their usual banter, while Hikigaya searches for disinfectant. Yukino insists on treating his wound and reveals her choice of humanities for her career path, ensuring they will be together for another year. Leaving the infirmary, Yu informs them about the party celebrating Hayato's victory. In the pub, Yukino thanks Hayato for his consideration amidst the rumors, and he acknowledges her change, and Hayato explains to Hikigaya that Yukino has evolved independently due to Hikigaya's influence. Hikigaya also expresses his initial hatred towards Hayato, who finds it amusing, and they share a moment of laughter. After some time, Haruno and Hikigaya meet at an open cafe where she probes him about Yukino's career path choice, but he refuses to reveal it. Haruno criticizes Yukino for being unchanged, and when Hikigaya questions her motive, Haruno suggests that Yukino's trust in him is not genuine. The next day in class, Hayato's friends discuss their desire for Valentine's chocolates, and Tobe reveals that Hayato is reluctant to accept any, catching Yumiko's attention. Yu agrees, finding it strange to receive chocolates from strangers. Yu catches up with Hikigaya, and they go towards the service club, where they meet Iroha, who asks about Hikigaya's sweet preference. Yu informs them of Hayato's decision not to accept chocolates, which surprises Iroha. Yumiko and Hina arrive, seeking help with Valentine's cookies, and tensions rise as Saki also enters with her chocolate-making request, intensifying the situation. All young love. Hikigaya devises a plan to make Hayato accept the chocolates, making Iroha plans an event and includes the service club members without informing Tamanawa, which surprises him. Yuba assists Yukino, while Hikigaya tastes their cookies. Tamanawa discusses the long-lasting relationship between schools at the community center, surprising the service club. Iroha reveals that the Tamenwa school handled the budget, causing shock as Hikigaya thinks that Iroha is growing. Haruno also gets an invite, while Seki brings her sister, and Yukino teaches Yumiko to make chocolate, while Hayato praises Hikigaya's idea. Hikigaya visits Iroha, who feeds him chocolate syrup, making him blush. Kaori asks Hikigaya about how many Valentine's chocolates Hikigaya received before, drawing jealous stares, but Hikigaya claims that he didn't receive any chocolate before. Haruno also claims that Yukino gave chocolates to Hayato in elementary school, who clarifies the incident, relieving tension. Haruno questions Yukino about who she's giving Valentine's chocolate to this time, leading to a clumsy moment. Yu lightens the atmosphere but feels burdened by it. Later, everyone distributes and enjoys chocolates, while Shizuka praises Hikigaya's growth, who feels like he's still going in circles. Yu offers him chocolate, and Yukino assures him she helped make it, and Haruno questions if their friendship is genuine, calling them boring, which makes everyone a bit sad. Haruno is a total party pooper. Hikigaya decides to live with the new experience. They encounter Yukino's mom discussing her future, which makes Yukino uncomfortable, and she promises the dude to explain it afterward, and they all go home. Hikigaya offers to walk Yu, but she declines while he ponders where to find the genuine thing. Yukino apologizes for her mother's behavior, and Yu reassures her by sharing her own experiences with her mother. After that, Hikigaya expresses his concern about potentially affecting his sister's reputation by attending the same school, as she will be soon giving their school entrance exam. Yu questions Hikigaya's presumptions about his sister's entrance exam, and Yukino wonders if he is being optimistic or pessimistic. Yukino offers Yu some homemade cookies, but feels pressured when Yu asks why Hikigaya didn't receive any, making Yukino nervously give Hikigaya a small plate of cookies, and he accepts and eats one. As they prepare to leave, Yukino plans to give Hikigaya a bag of cookies but hesitates. Yu realizes Yukino's intention, but before anything further happens, Haruno arrives and insists on taking Yukino home, sparking a heated argument. Hikigaya intervenes, suggesting a private discussion, but Yui invites Yukino to spend the night at her house, and Hikigaya tags along without knowing why. Yukino apologizes for the earlier trouble, but Yu dismisses it. Meanwhile, Yu's mother enters the room, embarrassing Yu for being ushered out, making Yu complain about her mother, but Yukino sees their close bond. Yukino starts to leave, but Yu suggests she spend the night, and Hikigaya supports the idea. Yukino agrees and calls Haruno to inform Haruno, asks to speak with Hikigaya, and compliments his kindness. Later, Hikigaya leaves, and Yu and Yukino discuss their plans and surprise Yukino by suggesting they go on a date. The next day, Hikigaya wishes Komachi luck with her entrance exam and receives a date invitation from Yui, which he accepts. Hikigaya and Yukino are surprised when Yui invites both of them on a date together. They visit Sea Life Park, where they all have a surprisingly enjoyable time, making Hikigaya and Yui show excitement, and even Yukino starts to loosen up. They come across a penguin exhibit, and Yukino separates herself from the group as she senses a bit of tension as she reads about the penguin's lifelong mating habits. Soon, Hikigaya also joins Yukino inside while Yu takes pictures. Yukino compares herself to a lonely fish, blending in and following others. After their trip, Yu decides to come clean about her feelings and discuss their stagnant relationship. Yu proposes maintaining the status quo, but Hikigaya rejects it, leading to Yukino stating they still have his request to address. Yukino ends their conversation by claiming that she has a request to make, and Yu agrees to listen. And with this, we conclude our recap for today. If you enjoyed our video, do give us a like and subscribe to any recap for more amazing content.